What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Odd Chopper YouTube channel. I'm your host, Mike, and this is Best Bets for UFC Vegas 82. We're back once again. Last week, 2-1. Not bad. A winning week. I will take it. This week, another 14 fight card here with the main event Brandon Allen versus Paul Craig. Interesting fight. I really like the Allen side here, but the money line is just way too big here at this point. So I do think that he will get the victory in that main event. With that being said, before we go on to our first play of the night, I do want to shout out our sponsor right there on the screen. Probably one of the best deals we've ever had here with our sponsor, BetMGM. Currently, we do have, when you make a deposit, you make your first bet, you can get that bet back up to $1,500. So you make a $1,500 bet. If it loses, you get $1,500 in bet credits. Plus, you get 2 months of our premium Odd Chopper Discord channel. Also, you get 1 month of oddchopperpremium.com where you can use to put in bets. It gives you bets. It actually gives you the best lines on all the domestic sports books. So very good tool to use. Also, the 2 months of Odd Chopper Discord, tons of great information in there, tons of great betting. I put out my entire UFC card on there. Been very profitable for the year of 2023. All my units are tracked on a third-party tracking site, and I'm up over 100 units this year. So all of that will be in the Odd Chopper Discord. All my picks, bunch of other NFL, NBA, everything else that's going on. So, with that being said, guys, you do have to be 21 and older to gamble. And if you have a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's move on to our first play of the night. It is in the Charles Johnson versus Rafael Estevam. And here we have a newcomer to the UFC, in Rafael Estevam. He is 11-0. Dana White's Contender Series guy, fighting a veteran in Charles Johnson, who's 13-5. And he's the underdog in this spot. And I think this line's flipped, to be honest. When I look at Rafael Estevam, this guy's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He grapples very hard early on in fights, gets fights down, has good ground and pound, has good jiu-jitsu, but this guy does slow down. And a lot of the fights that he's fighting, he's getting guys down on the ground, and they're just giving him not much resistance. They're staying off their back. They're trying to go for submissions and not really making this guy work. You know, you want to make this guy work. You want to get up. You want to stuff his takedowns. You want to do all of that stuff. And you know, a lot of his fights have been fought in Brazil. All these guys are really not very good defensive wrestlers. Now he's facing a guy in Charles Johnson who has a lot of UFC experience at this point. You know, he's got 5 UFC fights under his belt. He has losses to very good wrestlers. Cody Durden, Muhammad Makayev, you know, they grappled him very hard. And now he's facing a guy in Rafael Estevam who has wrestling, but nowhere near the ability of those two guys. You know, the Ode Osborne fight, he took on very short notice, flew all the way from Thailand, was sick for the fight. I still think he won that fight, but they got him as a split decision loss. He beat Zalga Zumagulov and Jimmy Flick. Now, Rafael Estevam might have success early in this fight. I don't see him having success later in this fight. So, you know, I do think as the fight moves on, I think Johnson takes over. He can also be stuffing takedowns early and actually just piecing this guy up on the feet, because I think he's the much better striker here. So I do like Charles Johnson here, probably most likely by decision, but maybe a late round stoppage as well. So give me Charles Johnson at plus 130 currently on DraftKings. Before we move on to the second play of the night, I do want to shout out our oddshopper.com. Currently, you can get either 1 month or 1 week for 50% off on oddshopper.com premium. Like I said, mentioned earlier, you get all the the bets that are up, the positive ROIs, the best lines in all the major sports books. So very, very good tool to use. Oddshopper.com. Hit the link down below and get that 50% off either the first week or the first month. Moving on. Second play of the night. It is in the Nicholas Modo versus Trey Ogden matchup. And this one has a lot to do with statistics, but also the fighting styles, guys. Nicholas Modo, very good striker, throws in combinations, has a ton of power. His money punches the left hook. Going up against a guy in Trey Ogden who has jiu-jitsu, is a black belt, but likes to keep fights standing, likes to keep fights at distance, kicks a lot, and his opponents don't really throw a lot. He manages to make his opponents fight his fights. And his fights are honestly technically going to decisions. They are not big fight-ending fights. They are not very explosive in his fights. You know, the guy, when you look at statistics here, Trey Ogden, he's 16-6, 22 professional fights, 0 knockouts, and he's never been knocked out as well. So looking at Modo, all of his wins, all of his stoppages, I should say, are by knockout. He's not a submission guy, and he's not submitting Trey Ogden. But then his losses, most of them are by knockout, Nicholas Modo. And we're looking at the other side, and he has no knockouts. Trey Ogden does not really have much power in his punches. So when you look at this as a whole, and you look at the over 2.5 at -124, this matchup is perfect for an over, in my opinion. So the styles, the statistics, the fact that both guys, Nicholas Modo only been subbed once in his career. Trey Ogden really not going for much grappling in his UFC career. More of a striking guy, more of a kicking guy, keeping fights at range. I think that's what he wants to do here. He's defensively sound when it comes to blocking punches. And, here we're getting -124 on the over 2.5. I think this line should be more like -175, not 124. So I think there's a bunch of value there on the over 2.5. Like I mentioned, Ogden never been knocked out. Ogden doesn't have any knockouts. Moda, on the other hand, does have knockouts, but like I said, Ogden's never been knocked out. He's defensively sound. Over 2.5, -124. Sign me up here. I think this line's off by a good 50 cents. Before we move on to our last play of the night, another shout out. Discord, our Odd Shopper Discord. Currently, you can get half off for the first week here. Odd Shopper Discord. Try it out. Test it out. Link is down below. You won't be disappointed. Love all the people in the community. You get to talk. Everybody answers in there. So great little community there if you want to join our Discord chat. That being said, last bet of the night. It is in the Lucas Alexander versus Jaa Ser. Here we have two guys that are a little bit newer to the UFC. Jaa Ser just fought not very long ago where he got finished via ground and pound against Anshul Jubilee, and that was at 155. So, that was 9 months ago at 155. Here we have Jaa Ser coming down to 45, which is a very smart move because this guy is very, very undersized for 55. You can even say he's undersized for 45. So I do like his move going down to 145, and he faces a guy in Lucas Alexander who is a 2-fight UFC veteran. He's 1-1. He beat Steven Peterson via mainly leg kicks and hurt Peterson's legs, won by a decision. This guy in 8 wins only has 3 KOs. I don't think he has very big power. He's very technical on the feet. While the opposite side, Jaa Ser, 13 wins, 8 of them by knockout. This guy, this is basically a striker versus striker matchup here. And Lucas Alexander, 3 knockouts. Jaa Ser has been finished once via knockout, but it was more ground and pound against Anshul Jubilee. It's just not something that Lucas Alexander is going to do. He's not going to go for takedowns. He's not going to go for the ground and pound, in my opinion. So this is going to be a 15-minute stand-up fight. And the power does lay on the Jaa side, But then again, Lucas Alexander's never been knocked out. He does show a pretty good chin. He's going to be the longer guy. Minus 535 is pretty crazy to me as far as odds are concerned. I don't think striker versus striker, where one side does have the power advantage, which is Jekka, and he's a plus 400 dog. It's a little off here. I do see the technical aspect where Lucas Alexander is much better. He's longer, all of that stuff. But yeah, outside of that, the over 1.5. I'm surprised they set the over at 1.5 here. It's minus 152. They're probably looking at the Jekka side and saying, a lot of these fights are ending in round one, but those are against guys that just not very good from the regional scene over there. Their One Pride is just one of the worst regional scenes. When this guy went to the road to UFC, he got a third round finish, which would go over the 1.5, but then he got a first round finish against Juan Bin Ki. He did get finished 344 mark of round 2 against Anshul Jubilee. So here against Lucas Alexander, it's just going to be a 15-minute stand-up. I trust both guys' chins. I don't think that Lucas Alexander has very big power. I do think that Jekka has some power, but again, the much more technical guy is Lucas Alexander. He has good defense on the feet. I see this going easily over the 1.5, possibly going a distance here, if I'm being honest. So we're getting a nice gift here at minus 152 on the over 1.5. I probably set the over 2.5, probably at minus 125 even. So I really like the over 1.5 here at minus 152, currently on Bet Rivers. Going over the 3 bets again, Charles Johnson money line plus 130 on DK. The over 2.5 at the Ogden Modo fight at minus 124 on FanDuel. And the last but not least, Jaa Ser versus Lucas Alexander over 1.5 minus 152, currently on Bet Rivers. That will do it for UFC Vegas 82 best bets. Guys, again, shout out to our sponsor, BetMGM. Link is down below for all those free stuff up there. 2 months of free Discord, OS Discord, and 1 month of oddshopperpremium.com. 1,500 in bet credits given back if your first bet loses up to 1,500. Thank you very much for joining me here. Hit the like, subscribe to our channel. Once you subscribe, hit that notification button so you can get all our video here on the Odd Shopper channel. Guys, one last thing. We have a week off, by the way, next week. We will be back in 2 weeks. With that being said, let's cash those tickets for UFC Vegas 82. See y'all in 2 weeks.